Welcome to Elected, a podcast for women and our active accomplices in and around politics. I'm your host, Sarah Elder-Chamanara, and today my guest is, again, Sarah Biggs.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah. We're going to be talking all things Alberta election again. It's the second time, and we'll do one more next week when this is all done.
Yes.
And we know the results.
Yes.
So before we get started, in the spirit of reconciliation, it's important for me to share my personal commitment to learning the history of colonialism and the ongoing systemic violence and oppression against Indigenous peoples. The land where I live, work, and record from is the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, Piikani, Tsuut'ina, Stoney Nakoda Nations, Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes on the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. So, Sarah, a lot has happened since we last spoke.
It's been a month.
Yeah. So the agenda for today, we're going to go over the debate, polling numbers, Artur Pawlowski, the man who just won't go away. We're going to get into a subtopic of criminal background checks for candidates. Which those two things are related. A current party check-in. So on where we think the parties are right now, kind of where things are at. Early voting starts today.
Yes.
It's 10:12 right now. As we're recording it, the polls opened an hour and 12 minutes ago. So turnout and what we think for going into the last week of the campaign.
Yes.
So the debate.
Where to start?
Okay.
Do we want to go on the technical side or?
Well, give me your top.
So I'm going to have to say that Danielle Smith won on the technical side of the debate.
Okay. Why?
So what I mean is that she was looking at the camera.
Okay.
When we're talking like technical, right? So she was, sounded a little bit more confident than Rachel Notley. She was looking at the camera a little bit more than Notley. She's a media person. She knows how to do it. She knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Miss Notley seemed extremely nervous on Thursday night because Rachel had to be perfect. Danielle had to show up.
I think the bar was a little bit higher for Smith, but keep sharing.
Yeah. So Rachel had to have like a really perfect debate in order to be able to swing the votes, right?
Well, yeah, they definitely weren't coming. I mean, expectations for Smith were so like the bar was so low, and it was her own bar. Because we were, all kind of waiting for her to say something absolutely insane. So for her, like winning was not saying something absolutely insane, which she didn't. She did say a lot of things that weren't true, but that isn't the same, unfortunately.
No, it's not. But, I really wish Rachel could have jumped on a lot of cues or openings.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like if she was over prepped.
Well, they both were very prepped.
Both were very prepped, but there's so much like the very same debate. Ms. Smith said that the candidate for Lacombe Panoka would be sitting as an independent, and she was not welcome to the UCP caucus. But we have not heard about it that night. I
completely agree.
That was a missed opportunity.
Right? 100%. Because when she said, you had this MLA, Thomas Stang, who hacked the Alberta healthcare system.
Then she could have.
That was like, what if I was Rachel Notley, this is what I would have said. I'm so happy that you brought up candidates because I'd love to talk about your candidate A, B, C, D, and give people examples. It was the perfect opening. And you're right. There were multiple missed opportunities. And I feel like because they both seemed so rehearsed, it was almost like that she didn't want to go off script.
Yes.
And that's like, because if you're running a campaign on trust and leadership, then tell the public when you have whoever's watching attention, tell us why we can't trust Danielle Smith's leadership. That was a total missed opportunity.
It was a big missed opportunity.
Because that demonstrates it.
And, we were talking about if Ms. Notley does not kind of control her attacks and comes out right out the gate, it could be a bad look on her.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that she would, try to spread the attacks and try to make good points in between.
Yeah.
Because I would say about 65-70% of people tune in within the first 10 minutes. They watch, they're like, oh, okay. And then they turn off the TV and they move on.
Well, yeah, I did like that Notley started by acknowledging the fires and first thanking first responders. I was actually surprised that Danielle Smith didn't do that.
Yeah.
I thought that was odd.
On both sides, there were a lot of misses.
Yeah.
It was a very odd debate.
But you think technically Danielle Smith won?
Technically.
Okay.
Like on the technical side.
On the technical, so for like figure skating judges.
Yes.
Okay.
So, on the figure skating scale, the execution of how she communicated. We're not talking right or wrong here, but how she communicated to the public, how she was keeping eye contact.
Right.
She didn't seem like she was talking to Miss Notley constantly.
Yeah, she wasn't shifty. And by shifty, I mean, she wasn't moving around a lot.
No.
She was like very solid.
She was not playing with her hair.
Yeah.
She was not opening bottles of water.
Although maybe she should have.
She should have, but
yes, because she had a dry throat a few times.
Yeah, but on the technical execution, that one's Notley gets the win on.
Okay.
Smith gets the win on that one.
Okay.
I would have loved to see more ideas debated. Like it was just.
Well, I mean, it was the format. It was too fast.
It was too
There
fast.
shouldn't have been any commercial breaks. They should have just gone for the hour straight.
Yeah.
And the moderators didn't interject at all.
On nothing. No, they were just sitting there.
It was too friendly.
They were the timekeepers, and that was pretty much the end of it.
Yeah.
Which was extremely unfortunate. But
so what's the opposite of technical then? If you're great, what's the other grade?
So the other grade would be, I would say, the execution of the
artistic scores.
Yes.
Just like figure skating.
Yeah.
Right?
Artistic scores and music.
Yes.
And music.
All of the other things that go into the performance.
Yeah. So, sure. Miss Notley did well, but I feel like like we said, she missed the openings and so many opportunities just to try. And on the other side, when Miss Notley was trying to attack or trying to take control, that Miss Smith was really good at trying to steer her back to the question. She was dodging Notley's attacks, and she was trying to steer back.
Well, I think Danielle Smith is more, and again, this goes to her background, is a more skillful person at not answering the question and also getting the person you're going up against off whatever the topic is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fascinating to watch because, Miss Notley tried to take control by 4 minutes in when she asked a question to Miss Smith. Body language right away. Danielle Smith was like, no, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah, she had like a shield and it was like, it just kind of like bounced off of her.
It bounced off. So it's unfortunate.
Okay. So are you giving both artistic and technical then to Smith?
No, I'm not. No, I think at the end of the day, it didn't change anyone's mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Like maybe it convinced some conservatives to vote conservative because she didn't have a full-on Danielle moment during the debate. But I don't think it has moved the needle. But what was fascinating, both were wearing blue.
Well, I mean, come on, really? You were surprised?
No, but the same shade. Hilarious. Let me have that one. I thought it was pretty funny because, one is because both are trying to go after the center.
Yes.
And I saw Rachel was wearing blue. I was like, okay. And then I saw Danielle coming in. I was like, oh, everybody. I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But no, Notley did well on a lot of points. Some of the attacks were good. She was trying to hold Danielle Smith accountable, but Danielle was really good at deflecting them.
Yeah. So was there a moment for you that, did you have a favorite moment overall?
No.
Really? I'll tell you what mine was.
Yeah.
So it was the only, because I don't think there was any knockout moment of the debate, but the moment that I actually felt moved was when Rachel Notley started talking about, I forget the way that she set it up exactly, but she was talking about kids in classrooms. And
imagine
a little girl putting up her hand and no one coming. Even now I get goosebumps. That was the moment for me.
Yeah.
That was the best moment of the debate for me. And I wish that she had been able to craft more of those moments
and carry on more,
because to me, that was something that, that carried a lot of weight and maybe hopefully got people to think about it. And that's actually very true, because I know people whose kids there's nowhere for them to sit.
Yeah.
So the narrative is a truthful thing. It's happening right now in Alberta classrooms, in publicly funded schools, that is actually happening.
Yeah. No, and she could have tried to carry it on a little better and tried to go back to that first statement and really try to build on it. No, it was a good moment. I guess I watched the debate very technically because I had to.
Well, and I was watching it in a room full. So we had a debate watching party here at the store at Madam Premier. And so there were between 20 to 30 people in the room.
Yeah.
And, there was laughter, there was, gasping, there was it was kind of the atmosphere was really different than versus watching it solo.
It was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. And I will say that the conversation that the people who watched it here in the store had was really thoughtful, especially on the education front, because there were teachers in the room. And there were also people in the room who asked questions about education that were thoughtful and were from a more UCP kind of perspective.
Yeah.
And there was a really thoughtful dialogue.
Yeah. And that I think it's refreshing to hear, because what we need right now is
more conversation.
It's more conversation, is even you can disagree without being disagreeable. And, we need more of those conversations, because the more we steer off from that aspect of politics and having a candid, honest conversation about what we want to see in leader, what do we want to see on the policy side, asking the other side, well, how do you manage this? What are you going through? And trying to bring empathy. I always go back to empathy back in politics. And more than ever, I think we really need it right now, because everything has become too sterile.
I agree.
And I feel like the debate on Thursday was very sterile.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was really rehearsed, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I think that created that kind of that feeling of being very polished. It kind of lacked, their
personality.
From the moderators, and from the candidates.
It was.
Someone said that they thought, someone that was here the night of the debate said that that there was a missed opportunity in having that third candidate, and having Barry Morishita at the debate. And I mean, if they had done it based on polling rather than seat, having a seat, but they that's like a whole other podcast.
No, it's unfortunately we are in a two-party system right now.
Yeah.
And I've been watching the Alberta Party comes for the past few weeks, and there's no announcement. Their only real policy they announced was Rep Attack. If you want to be the viable third option, act like it.
Yeah.
And it's been odd. They're waffling around the issues.
Well, maybe, and I think that to me is a sign of disorganization and
Oh, 100%.
a lack of direction, right? Like, what do you stand for? No one knows. No
Well,
one
they have
knows.
that platform, they consult.
Even,
They consult. But at some point you got to make decisions. You need to stop consulting.
yeah, no one really wants to vote. Well, I mean, arguably you could say that
Well, there's
under
one,
Jason Kennedy, you did vote for a leader who loved to consult as well and take everything to a blue ribbon panel.
yeah.
But yeah, the Alberta Party has dropped the ball. The Alberta Liberals are,
Rip.
just not even showing up. It's just all bad.
We
kind of.
need a good, viable, solid third option in this province.
I agree.
And I can tell you that it's not with the other parties that we're going to see that happening anytime soon.
Well, I don't think it's with the people who were leading those parties and anyone who's associated.
Yeah,
with
but
them.
they keep going back. That's the thing. Those parties, a lot of individuals are, on the boards and managing those parties. They were there like 6 years ago.
Well, that's why there needs to be like
and they keep coming back.
A cleaning of a house cleaning.
It's a full flush, but also the party and the board needs to be willing to do so.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is a good segue into polling.
Mhm.
So there's been some polling that shows pretty consistently, I'd say, that the UCP are leading
Mhm.
the NDP going into the last week of the campaign. Do you think it's true?
I think it is. So
Based on what? Obviously the polling, like, it's done, right? So there's that.
so
Is it like, but also a gut feeling?
I'm trying to base my predictions of my understanding of what's going on.
Right.
And we need to take in consideration that there's a lot of closeted conservatives this election as well.
So and what do you mean by closeted?
That people that won't take lawn signs.
Okay,
people
so
that won't
who don't talk about it.
don't talk about it.
So do you think that, and when so that's in closeted conservatives, is it, they're not showing it and they're not talking about it because there's a level of shame associated with it?
Yes.
So for me, that's like a very big sign that if you aren't comfortable talking about your politics, I'd like to explore why that is. Because to me, that means that that there's a tingly feeling inside of you, or something is telling
That
you
says, shouldn't do it.
that because I think that people should be comfortable talking about what their politics are.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's like a warning sign. I just don't think you should have that feeling of not being comfortable in sharing where you're at. Unless you're like, I just never talk about politics. And I come from a very open political place on this.
Yeah.
But that shame, kind of the not sharing because you are afraid of what people will think. I'd want people to lean into that and really explore that.
Yeah. It's maybe it's not shame. Maybe they just don't want to have to fight, or I don't know.
But again,
yeah.
About what? To me, that's a sign that something is, there's like a little alarm bell going on.
Well, it's like in 2019 when Janet Brown did her poll, and I'm hoping to see a poll from her this week. She said that, communities and conservatives were always underestimated.
Right.
The poll. So, and I've seen some numbers from earlier this year, and the NDP was leading, like what a good margin.
So what happened? Or was it inaccurate?
I think it would be a mix of both.
Yeah.
What happened? Comms.
Yeah.
Comms are a problem.
I agree.
I
mean, and this isn't a problem that is only a campaign issue.
No.
The NDP comms for me have been an issue for a
years.
Very long time.
Yeah. They had 4 years to get ready for this one. And they've known for 8 months that Daniel Smith was going to be the leader leading into that election. They had a lot of time to prepare. But what I'm seeing is kind of a flashback of 2019 all over again. And it on the comm side, on the messaging side. And I really wish they would have not solely bet on Daniel Smith to win their election.
I feel like things have been maybe too pre-planned.
Yeah.
And they haven't been quick enough to respond at a broader level to things that have popped up. And maybe it's also that they just, because, and we've just let things go too quickly, right? So like,
there's
yeah, I
also
don't know.
the
It's-
echo chamber phenomenon.
the which?
The echo chamber.
Oh yeah.
The echo chamber on both sides is extremely, extremely,
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
tight, airtight. But I don't know. I really wish they would have done better. Like right now, I'm seeing black signs on the street and
Yeah.
saying this race is about trust and leadership.
Well, because they took down the weather vane ones,
Yeah.
because the UCP put up the small ones, which was genius.
Oh, I loved it.
Because it was like, what is Danielle Smith going to do
cut
next?
taxes.
Cut taxes,
Yeah, they didn't
save
like
streets or whatever.
they didn't like that, but their black and white sign.
Yeah. Well, that's what they've replaced the weather vane
Yes,
ones with on
but-
the other side. The other side is still a
Still
positive
Rachel.
message.
Yeah, but you look at it, you're like,
I mean, I actually think it's decent.
it's decent, but who that?
I think it's decent. I like yeah, I kind of like the boldness of it, and that it's just being really simple, black and white.
Yes, but
It does capture your attention. But again, I don't know if it pushes and does it move? Okay, so the ultimate question is, does it move a voter?
No, because the most uninformed voters are the ones that are just, looking at the signs and all that. If they are not aware of everything that's going on right now during the campaign, they will not necessarily know that's coming
Yeah.
from the NDP. That's one of the issues I'm seeing.
Yeah, I feel like the debate would have been the opportunity for those more direct attacks, taking advantage of moments to really push back and then to really thread the
And
needle
relaunch the messaging for next
for
week.
the last week. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, so there are people who pay a lot of attention. The overwhelming majority of people pay like no attention. So will that, it'll be interesting to see.
It's gonna
I'd
be,
love to talk to people this week to see if they've seen the ads and what they think about them. I'll
yeah,
have to ask people about that.
but I know I consume a lot of podcasts, and every night right now it's Alberta NDP for a minute and a half at the beginning of every single podcast I'm listening. It's a lot of money.
You mean the ads?
The ads. A lot of money.
Well, I saw someone else on Twitter talking about, like ads and different things, like targeting younger voters. Like I honestly don't think that younger voters I hope I'm wrong. I really don't think that there's going to be a high voter turnout among younger voters.
But
because I think this turns them off, this like style of politics.
It does, but also they have been ignored.
Well, yeah, there's no what issues are being talked about that relate to them,
No.
right?
No.
I mean, they do all relate to them, but in a more me-centric generation, like, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah. They're not hitting them.
They're not, talking to them, which, and I mean, I can you want to talk to people who are going to turn out to vote, right? So,
okay. It's like, yeah, okay, you're going to be freezing tuition.
I think that's a really tired promise. I don't think that's what students like.
They don't want to hear it.
Well, no, they want more.
Yes.
They don't want frozen tuition. They want tuition reductions.
Yes.
They want grants.
Yes.
Which is free money.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it would
non-repayable money.
But that's the thing. I do not care anymore for parties that are saying, oh, look, we really care about our students. We're going to be freezing to this year's rate, which is already outrageous.
Yeah, I don't think
come on, man, like, make an effort. It's some of the promises are kind of half-baked, on the fly, just a little candy to try to attract, and then being like, look, we care. But if you would have cared, you would have done more.
Yeah.
And that's the issue I'm having.
But it's like a vicious circle. Like, what came first? The chick. They're not going to turn out if you don't do anything. But they also, if you don't do anything, they won't turn out.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If they would do something about tuition, if either party would do something about tuition, the parents.
Well, you know what? I don't know. I don't know.
I think some parents would.
I'm not sure.
A lot of people are making a lot of sacrifices to be able to send their kids to university and make sure they are debt free. So they are taking the burden. But I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I come from the land of like university costs nothing.
Well, but it's not that it costs nothing. Someone pays for it.
Well, the taxpayers
pay for it.
Costs nothing for this, barely anything for the student, makes it affordable.
But someone else is paying for it.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it's free.
Yeah.
It's taxpayers, but Quebec pays like when you make over $130,000 a year, you pay 55% taxes. Yeah, someone's paying for it.
Yeah, someone's always paying for it. So that matters. And I also think that gets taken into account in a, relatively fiscally conservative province like Alberta. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Well,
is there a magic solution for education?
I mean, students essentially, in my personal experience, the last minister I worked for in BC government under the BC Liberals, now the
BC United
United Party, or it just doesn't roll off the tongue for me yet. The pink and blue, was advanced education, and I think that most students, especially student unions, would want to see students not pay anything to go to university and college.
Yeah,
I think that's like that's like the dream scenario for them.
Yeah,
that's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. So, like the minister that I worked for got in some serious media trouble when she said that students need to have some skin in the game. But I do believe it's true. You do need to have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
In terms of paying for your education.
Yeah, 100%. We could have come up with, if you're a nurse or if you're a doctor or if you're in the EMS or, for 5 years that you're working in the province, A, you got to keep the interest rates like stupid low. B, you could subsidize a percentage of their student debt if they establish like a practice, if they, if they're investing in Alberta and they're staying in Alberta, we should be. But is there a perfect solution?
No, because then also you have people that run out the clock. They'll do their 5 years or whatever it is, and then they'll
walk away.
Bye, see you later. I'm going to BC, to ski in the afternoon, go to the beach in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And I won't have a government that's tearing up contracts. Right. Well, actually,
it's pretty bad over there right now.
Well, yeah, that's like a whole other conversation. Okay, so let's move from our unexpected conversation on advanced education to Artur Pawlowski. So, as I told you, before we started recording, I actually got a robocall from in his voice saying, "It's Artur Pawlowski. I have no idea how he got my cell phone number."
Because you're not in his writing.
Well, so his signs are actually up here where the store is, but I've seen them around town. So I guess he's running in Calgary Elbow.
Yeah.
But there's signs up all over, kind of. And I had to look carefully at it. Like, have you looked carefully at the solidarity? It looks like it's blood.
Yeah.
Like dripping blood font.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a really creepy choice.
It's disgusting.
And I go to a lot of dark places.
It's so rich for Pawlowski to use the word solidarity when he's trying to run after the LGBTQ community with pitchforks.
Well, also, solidarity is a word typically associated with the left.
Yeah,
right?
And unions. Yeah. So the first time I saw it,
and also communist regimes, which he pled, right? So, it's just an interesting word choice. The blood, or if that's what it is, obviously I find his views reprehensible, disgusting. Everything he says
gross.
is just like hate speech almost.
Everything is hate speech. Here, I'm gonna say it. Everything comes out of his mouth is hate.
So we were talking about Pawlowski. So he's running now. You said, so apparently, Danielle Smith has been silent on him.
Yep.
He hasn't made any comments, although last night,
Yes.
after I got the robocall, I was looking at his Twitter, which is a very dark place.
I blocked.
And he there were a few tweets about Danielle Smith, but it was also kind of like a blanket, like all the parties are bad, the NDP and the UCP, because obviously, he hasn't gotten what he's wanted from Smith and the UCP. But
he's having a fascinating temper tantrum right now.
And so I don't know, what is it?
He's a petulant child. So he tried to ask for a favor.
Who?
Well, Pawlowski, right? He tried
yeah.
He asked the premier.
Yeah, basically get me off of these criminal charges.
Get me off the hook.
Yeah.
And then he
was found guilty.
Found guilty. And now he's like, I didn't get what I wanted. So I'm going to throw a monumental temper tantrum from the legislature on Wednesday.
Oh.
Really, dude? You're a convicted criminal.
That doesn't matter to the people that he's talking to, though.
No,
they think that he's a hero.
I'm having a really hard time. Remember when during the 2021 mayoral?
Yes.
Like how they decided to not move ahead with the list.
Yes.
Because of Kevin J. Johnson and Pawlowski and all those dudes.
Yes.
Why are we giving an electoral list to a convicted criminal that has 38 candidates?
Well, okay. And so you wanted to add criminal background checks for candidates to the agenda. So you're obviously in favor then of criminal background checks.
100%.
Well,
it depends for what offenses.
Well, so this is where it becomes complicated.
I know.
Right? Because like say you did something and you're like, I don't know, you're showing up and you're protesting, you get arrested at a Black Lives Matter protest, and you're on the right side of justice. That shouldn't disqualify you, because we actually no. So there are things, just having a criminal record outright shouldn't disqualify you from public office. I'm talking
like charges like Pawlowski's been dealing with, right? Okay. Plotting to kill RCMP officers, blocking the border,
but an environmental protester could be charged with that same offense, right?
That's where it gets complicated.
Yeah,
because during the Harper era, we had to produce a criminal background check
for candidates, which is, I'd say it's probably pretty standard.
Yeah, but not here.
Well, no, because he's the leader of his own political party. So
no. But even the other parties.
Oh. You mean with the UCP and the NDP?
Do they run?
I don't know.
I have a question. I know that they did for the UCP leadership. They did ask for one. But I think that we need to start looking. Yes, it's democracy, but I'm having a problem when someone I'm just pissed off.
But he's not. So let's and that's there are a lot of things where I think that, do we need, for me, it's that, good will triumph over bad, or right over wrong, that the truth and justice over the evil of whatever, is that people have to vote against this.
Yeah.
Right. There's a saying in politics that, the voters are never wrong. I don't know about that anymore. I really don't know. I do think that voters can get it wrong.
Oh, look at Florida.
Well, there are a lot of instances that you can look at, and I do think that voters got it wrong.
Yeah. A lot of it, look at Italy,
with Giorgia Meloni.
Yeah. Look at Florida. look at Florida, scary.
I know, but at the same time, I would say, you know, the voters got it wrong. Obviously, there were a majority of people who think that they got it right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, yes, 100%. But what I'm trying to say is that convicted criminals for charges like Artur Pawlowski should not have the privilege to have their name on the ballot. I don't care if you start your own party.
Just think that's, you know, that's a, you know,
I know it's a dream.
That's a lot to unpack. And I mean, it would be hard. And what political party would be willing to take that on as an issue, because it would need to be legislated.
Yeah, it would need to be legislated.
I could see a city doing that rather than a provincial government.
Yes. The city council 100%. Yeah.
And it would depend on, you know, which way they lean on that issue.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's because I'm just frustrated because he was given. Democracy is a beautiful thing, but democracy is also, it's full of goobers who are trying to create discourse, create disorder.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not trying to silence those people, but should they have the privilege of having their name on the ballot? That's another question. Like, that's for me is the sticky point, right?
Yeah.
He's not a good person.
But again, that's like, we can't say there's only like, because who defines what is good and bad?
I know. But when you're trying to, you know, plot to.
I know, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah. Right.
But I want the majority of people to recognize that as like extremely dangerous, a fringe view, and solidly rejected. I mean, we have a big problem on our hands if people are willing to say, yeah, I agree with that guy.
I can't wait to see.
There's a bigger problem that we have then.
I can't wait to see how many people are going to be voting.
I hope it's 6 or preferably 0.
Let's put 11.
We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how many votes he gets. Okay. So current party check-in.
Yeah.
Where do you think the parties are right now?
They're in.
Well, let's start with the UCP. Do you think so?
They're having a big rally on Thursday night.
Okay, where is it?
The Grey Eagle Casino, I think.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because also, do you know what I saw when I was on Artur Pawlowski's Twitter feed?
What?
There's a big event at the casino, at the Grey Eagle Casino, featuring Sarah Palin.
When?
I didn't keep that in my mind, but Sarah Palin is the headliner with Theo Fleury and Jamie Saleh Pelletier as the other 2 people.
June 18th.
There you go. June 8th. So yeah, next month after the election.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. But you're right. Jordan Peterson is apparently coming to do some events.
Yeah, he was in Red Deer last night.
So, you know, I've never read his book. I've obviously heard of him and I've seen some of the things that he said, but I actually wanted to I actually spent one car ride listening to one of his podcasts.
Yeah.
It's an hour of my life I'll never get back. And
I'm so sorry.
No, but I wanted to hear what this was. And it was just, it was not smart. It was not smart.
He took an interesting shift over the past decade.
It wasn't smart. But you know what it also made me want to do? Because they're, you know, going on this little tour around. Honestly, it made me want to get in my car and just drive around Alberta and, you know, organize the exact opposite of what they talk about and do something that's actually positive and would motivate people and, you know, encourage more women to run and but we just never really see that at that community, that really grassroots community level. And it's something that conservatives and conservative, you know, in that circle of people do really well. Like Take Back Alberta, for example, their grassroots organizing is should be a model for everyone. But there's no counter to this from anything, from any kind of moderate or
That's what
progressive
baffles me.
or centrist views.
That's what baffles me, is that no one has tried to counter them.
Because there's so much apathy.
And
Everyone thinks it's someone else's job. Like, it's just always someone else. Someone else will do it. It's not going to be me. I mean, not to say that there aren't people doing really good work. There definitely are.
Yeah.
But they're also like doing a lot as is.
well, see, I've been raising the bell about Take Back Alberta for almost a year. And not a lot of people were believing, right? They were like, oh, they're fine, they're harmless. And then when Dwayne Bratt and I wrote our piece about Take Back Alberta, so we presented it to a lot of media. One outlet said, no, we're not going to take it. It's not relevant. It's not going to do anything. And then a newspaper decided to publish us. And then it was just like cascade effect, ripple effect, like all of a sudden everybody was talking about Take Back Alberta. But everybody is talking about, but no one is doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see. Like,
well, because like, what do you think we're going to get what we deserve in some ways? And I know that sounds horrible, but if there's no counter to this, if everyone's like, it's not my problem, it doesn't really matter, like it's someone else's job, just, it's just not something that I can do, then we are going to be the Florida of Canada. We already are.
We're getting there. But who has enough courage to take that on? Because it's a scary environment.
But why is it scary to talk to people and get them to care about something? I honestly don't like, and I don't mean to challenge you like that.
No.
I do think it's actually, we need to give people the license to feel like that they can do something.
It can be intimidating. It can be, especially when you're dealing with TBA. It can be for someone who's not, experienced or trying to counter them, or, does not live in that bubble or, the political sphere and knows everything. It can be intimidating.
I know, but like, honestly, even the most,
seasoned
or like, but it could just be someone who, like, honestly, it's just someone has to reach their boiling point and be like, you know what, I'm just going to do something about this. And that's how a lot of the best, greatest movements start.
Yeah.
Right. And then you give them license to also share and express the same views, and you build a movement.
I think that the day after the election is going to be a rude awakening.
If the UCP win.
If the UCP win, it could potentially be a rude awakening for a lot of individuals. And then we'll see how they're going to be managing it for the next 4 years. If the UCP win.
Okay. So our current party check-in kind of took a turn.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. But so we can keep going on that, but let's just touch on the NDP before we move on.
Yeah. The NDP has been having big rallies.
Yes.
It's fascinating to see my rallies bigger than yours kind of thing right now.
Yeah, which is true. The NDP are turning out way more people than the UCP in the pictures I've seen.
Yeah, in the picture we have seen.
In the pictures I've seen.
But the NDP really needs to bring more positive message from the last week. If they really want, how could I say? They have tried and done everything that they could. Are they sitting on one last thing about Daniel Smith? That's my question. Because
if the NDP is.
Yeah. Are they sitting on one last big scandal? Are they sitting on something? Have they run out? Because they have done everything that they could to try to discredit Smith.
I mean, Smith saying that in 2021 that 75% of Albertans who got vaccinated would have been followers of
that was
Hitler.
close. Yeah.
Should have been the knockout punch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because of how reprehensible
It is.
that comment was and is. So I don't know.
So why do you think it was not?
Because people are either not paying attention, not paying enough attention, and her UCP supporters who are so attached to the idea of having a conservative government will literally let her get away with anything. She can say anything, do anything, think anything, and they will excuse it.
But see, with, the ethics commissioner letter last week, when that came out, I was like, whoa.
Even that. There was a woman here at the debate who said, and I brought it up because I said, Trudeau was, do you not hold her to the same standard? And it was just excused away.
Yeah.
It's different. It's not the same, blah, 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 blah. That's not verbatim, but essentially, that was the sentiment. And I mean, I've heard it on talk radio. It's just, she's, the Donald Trump of, she can say anything and people will say, oh, she didn't mean it. It was, from X long time ago.
Grainy videos.
It'll get explained away. Exactly. Grainy videos from, as Rachel Notley tried to make the point of during the debate, was like in HD. Right. But we'll see. Early voting starts today. Do you think turnout is going to be high or low for early voting? Advanced voting.
I need to go look at the stations to see but I think it's going to be a little higher than usual.
Okay.
They've been a lot of who called me this week? An environmental group called me to ask me if I had friends to go vote with and when was I going to go vote and at what time, and am I going with my husband or can I call my friends, or like they were really, really asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I was like, no,
was it a real person or a robot?
It was a real person.
Okay.
And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm all set. But there's been a lot of efforts from that environmental group. Then my husband received a phone call from another group asking when he was planning on going voting and what time and organizing. And I think it's going to be a little higher, but I don't think it will be that much higher.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've had hundreds. Like that's probably a low ball over the last 2 years since the store has been opened around the election. And people for the last almost 2 years have been telling me that they wish the election was, 2 years ago. But people are people and, we'll see. I'm not sure. I'm in a really conflicted place right now. I want turnout to be really high. And I do want the NDP to win. But I'm not sure.
Well, the NDP will do enough this week to try to turn this around for next Monday.
But what can they, what is it they can do? I don't know. Anyways,
I think they maxed out. We'll see, but we always forget that in politics, we're dealing with human beings and that we really need to go back to the basics because
it's going to be a ground game, getting people out to vote. I actually saw, I made a note here. I saw a tweet from someone from the NDP, a candidate, I think, or something, but they said that they did something like 4 streets in 3 hours and did like a dozen signs. 4 streets.
4 blocks.
It said streets, or maybe it was blocks.
It was blocks.
Was it blocks? Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a long time. 3 hours for 4 blocks.
It's,
I don't it would really depend on how are they apartments, like, how far apart are the houses, like what kind of residential area is it? But I was like, that's a lot of time. Is that the best? Are you getting to enough doors?
Yeah.
That was my concern.
Yeah, not to criticize this candidate. It's probably a new candidate as well, not as experienced, but I was like, I know when I go door knock, let's go.
Well,
Like,
there's different ways to do that. But so, and I don't know the candidate at all. I don't even remember who it was. I just saw that and was like, wow, that's
not a whole lot.
I'm not sure.
It depends how many volunteers you have.
There's so many things that go into that. But my concern was, are you getting to enough doors?
No.
Because if you're doing that on a week out from election day, how many doors are you going to be able to get to on election day?
It's going to be interesting. So when you write your GoTV strategy, there's a few components. Robocalls will be running this week for advanced poll, which is good. There's going to be mailers and lid drop everywhere to remind. Then there's going to be the door knocking component in where they think
they can get the votes out.
They can get the votes out or convert. Like, let's say if there's a UCP voter, they're like, we're holding up our nose, blah, blah, blah. And the candidate managed to convert them. So there's between now and next Monday, there's going to be a lot of attempt to convert votes. But you need to see who's going to be the most efficient, which party is going to be carrying the most messaging next week, and which one's going to be the more visible.
Well, and I mean, I didn't share this earlier on when we were talking about the debate, but my takeaway that night was, and it still is, I don't think that the debate helped undecideds. I think that it kept them as undecideds.
Yeah.
And so converting those undecideds post debate in this last week of the campaign, coupled with people who are conservative leaning, who, just don't want to say it. I'm not sure. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. And it's a ground game this year.
Yeah, it is.
It's, I have seen one person knocking on my door this election.
Well, do you have a lawn sign? You don't have to say for who, but do you have a lawn sign?
No, because I'm lobbying.
Oh, okay. And so I have a lawn sign, an NDP lawn sign on my door, and I haven't gotten anyone.
No, I don't have a lawn sign. And funny enough, it was the UCP candidate that knocked on my door.
Well, yeah. Why wouldn't everyone should knock on every door?
I did not see the NDP candidates there.
My unless you have a lawn sign and like the list says, whatever. When I'm knocking on doors, like if there's no lawn sign and I don't know how you're voting, then I'm going to knock on your door.
Yeah. But I'm lobbying for a big file. So I'm Switzerland right now. But it's like, come to my door, come talk to me.
Well, okay. One last thing. So, you know, what's interesting is that, because I've seen on social media that people are saying that there's some UCP candidates going around saying like, we'll take care of Danielle Smith as leader after the election.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I heard the same thing, not the same thing, but a version of that same thing during the UCP leadership race, which was, this is why I'm backing this person who isn't Danielle Smith.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So
was it from my candidate?
Sorry?
Was it from my candidate?
No. It was from a sitting MLA.
Yeah. Well, Leela was this.
No, but in my home riding.
Okay, sorry. Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So they were saying at the door, I was being, they're saying, this is why I'm supporting this other candidate. In this case, it was Schultz. And there's a reason why I'm not supporting Smith. Well, now Smith is the leader. Are you still, like, to anyone, the void out there, are you, to hear that people are potentially having that same we'll take care of, No, she's not going anywhere.
The only reason that she could go anywhere is that if she wins like 46 seats.
The only And the only scenario I see her going anywhere is getting taken out midterm if they win.
Yeah.
Or losing in 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, she's not going to just let this go. Her supporters are not going to let this go. Take back Alberta, as long as they're her, they're aligned, they're not going to let her go.
No.
She's not going anywhere.
No, she's not going anywhere.
So the same can't be said of Rachel Notley. That's like a whole other conversation.
Ooh.
Like,
what do you think is gonna? If I need to ask the question,
so this is something I've been thinking about for at least 6 months. I think that if the NDP loses, I would anticipate that Notley steps down.
Yeah,
on election night.
Yeah,
maybe the day after, but
I'm not expecting Rachel to stick around.
I don't see how she could.
No, she can't.
Unless maybe, and I just, because I'm not like a party member. I don't go to their,
but
like, I don't
no
know.
Dynasty. That's the thing. There is no.
I think there's their potential candidates. Would it completely disrupt the NDP, the Alberta NDP under someone else? Possibly.
Yeah.
Would it splinter them? Very likely.
Yeah.
Is that an opportunity for another party?
Yes,
definitely.
100%.
Is it also an opportunity for the UCP? 100%. But I don't, but say the UCP loses, I don't think I see Danielle Smith going anywhere right away.
No, she's going to stay in the
I would
position.
imagine she would stay on, and then we would see how the drama within the UCP plays out.
Get your popcorn ready, because no matter who wins.
I mean, it's going to be a very interesting 4 years. Oh,
it's going to be I'm already exhausted. Just thinking about it, I'm already exhausted. It's going to be very interesting. I was seeing on social media, if the NDP is saying that they're winning, it's going to be civil war. My dudes.
I don't know who said that.
Oh,
wait, if the NDP wins, there's going to be a civil war?
Yeah. I was like, good. My dudes, stop doing that. Find a hobby, go help people, donate money. I don't know.
Well, no, just like
go away.
No, there's something on Netflix. There's some chore that needs to be done around the house.
Yeah.
Like, go to the grocery store.
Go play with your kids.
Something.
Yeah. Something.
Yeah. There's not going to be any armed rebellion.
No. And I'm just like, good God, why?
If anything, that's another endorsement for gun control.
Oh yeah. Right? Okay. So I'll see you. As usual,
that's a very place to leave it. So we'll reconvene after the
May
election on
May 30th.
Yep. Or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And see how things go. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.